Thank you.
This being recorded.
Hello, everyone. I am Davi Souza, and in this presentation, I'll be together with my colleague Natalia, and she will be starting the presentation on behalf of me and Bartosz also. Go ahead, Natalia.
Oh my God. Hello, space lovers. And David and I am the president researcher conduction and by David from Saudi Arabia and Bartosz from Poland and I'm from Brazil. Let's go. These are the topics that will be discussed. Okay. And the first of all, we need to understand the tenets of the moon in space, okay? Because and not natural involvement and in space is not natural movement for the humans, okay? In NASA, in the year 2021, published the article and the president the greatest eminence of man in the space and the future space travel. And separated in 5 problems: the radiation, isolation, and the confinement and distance from the Earth, gravity fields, and the hostile process involvement. The NM problems, the radiation and the gravity fields, and both on and the other, this will cause the problem with cognitive systems and the cancer and the head problems and the loss of muscles and the bone mass, has the problems and the problems with the blood and the isolation and the confinement and distance of the from the Earth, both on and the other, can affect to stress, anxiety, psychological problems, and the other problems. Oh my God, sorry guys. The hostile cause involvement and the cause to the problems with immunity and the temperature and the different air. Oh my God.
Okay. Continuing here the presentation, as Natalia well said, when we are dealing with the use of plants in space, we not only need to think on the application of a space greenhouse, as you can see here in both left side pictures. Oh, sorry, it's passing by himself. I don't know why. Well, so we have here at the left pictures, we have 2 greenhouse concepts on Mars, but we also need to think on the use of plants in space in a tool to overcome most of these 5 previous cited challenges associated with human space flight. And as you can see in the right picture, we also have a diagram regarding the design of a space greenhouse. And in this presentation, we will be covering especially the topic of human interaction of a space greenhouse. So we can mention here many factors associated with it. We have the delivery of fresh and nutritious food. We also have the generation of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide. We also would guarantee a good impact on the health of astronauts. We also have some benefits associated with the physiology and the psychology of astronauts. And finally, and which is also important, which is the recreation and the relaxation of these systems. It has been proven since the 70s and also from the 60s how plants brings benefits to astronaut life in the space environment. We are bringing here just a couple of examples, but I can mention you that since the Salyut era, from the Soviet Union, the space station of Soviet Union, a lot of reports from astronauts, from cosmonauts has been done regarding the enhancement of their mood just for the case of using plants in space, just for cultivating plants in space. And more recently, as you can see here, some reports, we also have the Diary of a Space Zucchini, which is kind of a report shared by NASA, telling a kind of history of a space zucchini, a space plant, and the astronaut who was taking care of this plant on behalf of the zucchini. Like it's kind of the zucchini would be telling the history about this interaction with the astronaut that was cultivating it. And as you can see in the others, we have only some few sentences regarding the growth of plants in space from the astronaut's perspective. And with that, we came up with this big question on our study. We want to answer here on regarding the following question, which is it feasible to have small crew personal gardens to promote psychological benefits? And with that, we came up with a deeper analysis on the factors, on these following factors: the scientific, the system factor, and also the human factors. First of all, the scientific factor is basically on what we already have for now. I bring here the example of the veggie chamber, veggie garden, which is aboard the International Space Station. And we do know that the veggie has allowed not only the cultivation of crops, the first space vegetables, but also it has allowed the crew engagement and training with agriculture topics. And also we already know that veggie is not a system essential for food production. The astronauts already have their food, their meat, the food. We already meet their food demands with the transported payloads from for the International Space Station. So veggie is not a vital system. This is the same perspective that we are taking into account, having systems that are not vital and won't compromise the mission success. And also will allow the cultivation of novel crops, promote novel ideas and novel research questions. And finally, find creative ways to guarantee a health occupancy in the space environment. On the systems factor, we are basically taking into account the human-plant system interaction. This will allow the test of new systems and new solutions, and will balance the human involvement, time commitment, and routines in terms of hours, days, and times per days that they will be engaged with the agriculture activities. This will be also allowing astronauts to innovate on design and capabilities, and finally ensure sustainable operations in a future habitat on the Moon, on Mars. Related to the tasks, related to the tasks associated with the plant growth, it has been highlighted here in this study, as you can see, you will see in the reference source 4. They highlighted here the activities associated with plant growth, especially with veggie system and also in space analogs station around the world. And as you can see here, we have the activities of health monitoring, cultivation operations, harvesting processing, routines operation, maintenance, and also leisure time. And I will also consider here, just for you know, which is highlighted on orange, the perspective, the operation perspective of plant data collection and system data collection, which will define the level of automation that we'll be putting into the system. So in the perspective of having a personal garden, we will need to take into account what is the necessary level of automation to conduct minimal tasks associated with plant growth, but also what is the level desired by the astronaut. And as you can see here in this diagram, I would mention the two levels of automation, which is the semi-automated and a fully automated, which are both very important to take into account. But in the perspective of small personal garden, we would consider the semi-automated level and the automation of tasks. As you can see, the auxiliary perspective, the cultivation perspective, and the monitoring perspective. Now I give the floor to Natalia again to talk about the human factors.
And the human factors separated in two parts. And the first part is the previously mentioned the astronauts in the abstract in the horticultural therapy and the sex plant. in the humans. And the plants work the four aspects in the psychological, physical, cognitive, and social. And the first and the psychological benefits. And the plants and the cause to humans interface or textural therapy, and they can reduce the symptoms of stress, anxiety, improve personal satisfaction, mood and the quality of life, and decrease self-control, feeling of calm and self-esteem. Is a quote by David. The plants bring a physical benefits in space. The zucchini, for example, and the plants for Soviets in the last years. Okay, and the social benefits and develop a more cohesive I'm sorry, guys. Relationships and create social interaction in the additional to making social function. I'm sorry, guys. It's just I'm sorry. This is helping me. The functionation healthier and back to the environment relations, relaxing and the natural stimuli and the provide a cultural interaction is the addiction to breathing a little piece of their culture. It is a way to learn and a little more about different cultures. And the physical benefits in the process fine and the gross motor skills and the hand eyes and the head eyes and the conditional and the stimulate increased and the mood and the physical activity and reduces stress and the heart rate and the blood pressure and the food preparation and the cooking as therapy prevents malnutrition and diversity of cultivated foods. And the cognitive benefits and the less benefits is the mood and instrument strategies. I'm sorry. The influence of the emotions and the mood on the course of a cognitive process. Cognitive process is a motivational mechanism and the influence of extrinsic and the rewards on an intrinsic motivation and the phrase of action and the maintain action and the choosing and the planning and the beginning to the implementation of the plan, the education and the evolution of the results or post action. And the second part in the mood factor is mimicking terrestrial systems the helicopter production talk taken into account the tensions on the Earth from its locality and the creation purpose, the pet plans and not necessarily have to fit the consumption, but there is something good for the astronaut. And sensory and instruments is the palatability and the smell, and the involvement with aromatherapy in addition to alchemy and emotion can influence the emotional and the physical behavior. This conclusion. The mechanisms of the action and how the cognitive process supporting and the problem solving, the energy versus fatigue dimensions, self-efficacy to the act to the on health. Oh my God. And the sustainability and the perseverance. And astronauts begin in the space exploring the extreme oxygen environment. And even with the best preparation and the training, they are human beings with feeling emotions and the needs who can and will experience the sense of difficult in the environment and which can be prevented and treated. And it's many problems due to direct to emotional contact with plants. This reference used to the research. And the last question, and if you go to the space, what plant do you take with you? I take with me and zucchini. I love the zucchini in the history. And you, David, what plant?
I would take some coffee.
Thank you.
Thanks for your attention. And these are our contacts, and we are open for questions if we still have time. Thank you.